Hey everybody, Prince's Friend here. Today's video is where I would like to give a sincere thank you to Batman. Not for clearing the streets of muggers while I'm on my way to work, not for putting Gotham City on the map as a place you don't really want to visit, but for bringing Prince to a brand new audience who might not have found their way to him otherwise. Before we begin, we release awesome videos every week here on Prince's Friend, and if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that today. We hope you will enjoy your experience. Despite what some people might think, Batman was not just a young kid spinning his imagination where,
"My parents aren't gonna tell me what to do. I'll be smarter than everyone. I'll have all the money in the world, and I'll beat up all the bad guys."
Batman is some of that, but not just that. But also, he was the favorite superhero of a certain musician by the name of Prince. In fact, Prince loved Batman and really all comics from a very early age. He's even on record as saying that the 1966 Batman theme song was the very first song he taught himself on the piano as a kid. So Prince definitely has some history in the medium, but for a long time he was just like any other comic fan. He bought a few copies here and there, kept up with the stories, but otherwise he was a consumer. Then came 1989's Batman, an epic film adaptation of The Caped Crusader from director Tim Burton. It starred Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and Kim Basinger. Prince was just off his Lovesexy tour and was trying to figure out what his next album was going to be when Jack Nicholson had the brilliant idea. "Hey, we should get Prince to do the songs for the movie." Now, even though Prince was reluctant, and Tim Burton was not all that thrilled about the idea, it still went through in the end, pushed a lot by Warner Brothers, and that made Jack Nicholson super happy. It also made Kim Basinger happy, evidenced by the scandalous sex suite, but that's a whole other video. Once Batman was released, Prince's name was once again attached to a blockbuster film that broke records and created a new class of superhero movie for other studios to live up to. The quality of these superhero movies was upped and upped and upped, going from the X-Men movies to an even darker series of Batman movies made by Christopher Nolan, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then to DC Cinematic, wasn't The Dark Knight amazing? It's not like everybody didn't already know Prince, but his fame had faded since the Purple Rain days. Purposefully, by the way, on his part, because he was trying to distance himself from a lot of that part, and he was going on to more spiritual material that he was putting out at the time. His last movie, Under the Cherry Moon, just a couple of years earlier, while enjoyable, was also kind of a huge flop for Warner Brothers. And there were rumors that his recording studio, Paisley Park, was losing money because of the Lovesexy tour not really doing as well as the Sign of the Times tour the year earlier. Basically, Prince needed a win. And a win he got. The Batman soundtrack became #1 in several countries, got him another #1 hit with Bat Dance. And no doubt this was partially because the music was funky and it was really good, but also because he beat both the movie and the recorded scores done by Danny Elfman to market about 6 weeks earlier. Also, anybody who was in the record store just saw a CD with a Batman logo on it. And it was a genius move because that made a ton of geeks, and I say that term lovingly because I am one too. It made them pick up the album, sight unseen, totally unaware of what they were getting themselves into. Now, I've been a Prince friend for a long time, well before Batman and the soundtrack and whatnot. But I currently run in largely geek circles, mostly because I'm a game designer in my quote-unquote real life, but also because I'm a fan of the comics and the movies, and these are some of my favorite characters as well. And what I've run into, a lot of people saying,
"I had never heard of Prince before the Batman soundtrack."
Or most importantly,
"The stuff you did before that wasn't very good, but the Batman soundtrack was my favorite."
So suddenly there was this entire audience who probably would have never picked up a Prince album before this. A lot of that is because the album before Batman, Lovesexy, had him naked on the cover, and there was a lot of tension circling around masculinity, homosexuality, and whatnot around the time in the 80s. But they bought this album because it was Batman, and if it's got Batman in it, it has to be good, right? That's why there's so many toothbrushes and notebooks and wallets and all that stuff sold as well. Those are all Batman things, so they're all amazing. Some people might say that Prince even modeled himself after Batman. He's a quiet, often brooding type. He's got a cast of really amazing superheroes that are part of his family, the Batman family. Same thing with Prince, where Prince has kind of fostered this Prince family, and he's got a lot of people in his own ranks who are amazing musicians by their own right, but they'll only ever be associated with Prince. Sheila E. is obviously Prince's Robin, who was under his tutelage for a very long time, but eventually broke out and did his own thing as Nightwing. Sheila E. is a star in her own right nowadays, easily ranked as one of the best drummers in the world. And while Batman has Red Robin, Batgirl, the Red Hood, Batwoman, Lucius Fox, and the like, Prince has Wendy and Lisa, More Stay in the Time, Andy Allo, Carmen Electra, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Shaka Khan, and a ton of other acts that were directly inspired by him and will forever be associated with him. Where was I? Oh yeah, this even spawned some Prince-themed comics coming out not long after Batman, because Prince saw it as a way to cater to this new market that he had earned with the Batman movie.
You like the Batman movie, right?
Yeah, totally, especially the music.
You know the guy who did the music has his own comic book now, right?
Whoa, really?
Prince actually had one for 3 Chains of Gold. There was also one that was just called Prince, which was pretty awesome. I had wished that there was some official crossovers specifically with Batman, but maybe that sort of thing really only appeals to me. Who knows? In the end, though, what I have found is that I can have intelligent conversations about Prince's career and the music and his legacy that he's left behind with people who run in geek circles more so than the general populace. While this album is sometimes thought by quote-unquote Prince aficionados as a mishmash of good and bad tracks from a musical genius, I find the album to be quite underrated.
I've seen the future and it will be. I've seen the future and it works. Trust what makes you a real lover. Trust. Put this question to you.
I think it's super funky, and it's got some dark tones, and it's really, really good. It doesn't really match too well to what he did before, and it doesn't really match all that well to the stuff that he did after, but it's authentically Prince, and it helped him reach a wider audience that he could have never reached alone. So thank you, Batman. Sincerely, from Prince's friend. And if you liked that video, don't forget to hit like, don't forget to check us out on social media, hit us up on Patreon at patreon.com/princessfriend, and, as always, may you live to see the dawn. Honey, don't you know I will slap the waves out your head if you do not subscribe?